Hi everybody, Adrian Plass here.
Yes, and Bridget, hello.
Well, this is our 59th recording, and obviously tomorrow is the 60th, which is our sort of diamond anniversary, diamond anniversary, and I can tell you that already somebody has sent us some diamonds. Well, I have no virtual diamonds, but we'll tell you about those tomorrow, which is actually the 60th day.
And what a long time that is, isn't it? Since we started doing these, since all of us started being in our own funny little boats with no shore in sight. And I don't know about you, but I mean, we've been feeling quite odd, really, haven't we, Adrian? As it moves from being told what to do, which is frustrating and difficult, but we know the guidelines, to being told that we need to do our duty and take personal responsibility. And obviously that's tremendous if it really means we can come out of this period. But it kind of, I don't know, for those of us who don't feel we're very good at things, there's that feeling we're bound to somehow fail, I think.
I mean, broadly, I prefer the personal responsibility bit.
Of course.
But there are times when you just want someone to tell you what is involved in what you've got to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not an easy time.
No, more questions than answers at the moment, I think.
And a lot of the insecurities are being unearthed. It's odd what causes insecurity. I mean, one of the things I've always had trouble with, and I think you're a bit the same, is some of the family letters that we get.
Do you mean the Christmas letters in particular?
It can be the Christmas ones, or it can be other times.
We're not alone. I know we're not alone in that.
Usually from people whose children do well in exams.
Exactly.
I think we've mentioned that. Obviously, that's a thing of mine, isn't it? Anyway, so here's the sort of letter I mean. It may be a slight exaggeration, but I'll read it to you.
Not at all.
This is it. Dear friend, it hardly seems possible that a whole year has passed since our last newsletter went out. What a lot has happened since then. Each of us has seen change, beginning with the youngest, Naomi, age 5. Little Naomi has become more spiritually alive than ever during the last 12 months. All 4 of us have the stigmata now. She is also very bright, but Rebecca and I are anxious that she should not be pushed too far too quickly where schoolwork is concerned. She must certainly finish her reception year before taking Maths A-level. And there is no question we have been very firm of her undertaking European piano recitals until her 7th birthday. Naomi continues to work really hard at building up the Christian Union that she started at her junior school, and she's been very encouraged by a recent experience of personally leading her Orthodox Jewish headmaster and several other members of staff to Christ. Naomi's after-school activities include a chess class on Monday. She earns her pocket money by teaching that. Applied thermonuclear dynamics on Tuesday. Netball training with other members of the county team on Thursdays. And a soup run into the East End every Friday evening. Naomi is easily the most popular girl in her class and was voted Miss Young and Humble at church this year, although she refused to accept the trophy, saying she was an unworthy winner. This act of pure unselfishness resulted in her being nominated for the award of Most Humble Church Member of All, an award which she subsequently won and accepted, feeling it would have been churlish and subtly vain to refuse, and on and on and on and on and on. Not quite like that, but sort of like that.
No, it is an exaggeration. Of course it is. But for those of us who kind of muddled through with our children and hopefully sealed things together with some sellotape and some love, it's a bit daunting when you get these letters.
Can be.
And we had the experience, didn't we, Adrian, of spending some time with the perfect family.
Yes, we did. And I know people will say, well, they can't have been that perfect, but they were. But we had lunch with them, and they had three children there. Our children were at home. We loved our children. We always loved them. They were wonderful.
And we were so glad they weren't with us, weren't we?
We thanked God they were not there. But they're 3 youngish teenagers, all played an instrument to a very high level.
Well, that was fine, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also this some people will find a bit difficult to handle. They had to be dragged away from their homework in order that they didn't overdo it.
I know.
Right.
And what was really... Oh, and they sang choruses
No, we
to
haven't
us in
got there yet.
harmony.
No, we haven't got there yet. They also were nice, weren't they? That was what was so difficult, because it would have been quite nice if they'd been a bit up themselves,
lovely.
Wouldn't it?
They were really lovely.
And then, as you were going to say, after lunch, what happened?
Well, they sang chorus to us in harmony. Yeah, I think by then we were feeling so imperfect that we were looking forward to going home. And then something happened, didn't it, that made things a bit difficult,
Well,
really.
it got worse because, as I say, they were really nice. This is
They
what's
were
so awful.
lovely people.
The lady of the family said to us, we would like to ask your opinion on an aspect of bringing up the family. And I thought, oh, no. And I said, yes. She said, we wanted to ask, how do you organise the worship time in your home? Well, there is a species of communication between people who've been together as long as Bridget and I, or even a bit shorter, whereby you can communicate silently something that cannot be expressed as well in mere words. Bridget's eyes were boring into me, and I knew exactly what she was saying. She was saying, lie. Just lie.
Dear.
We can repent later. Just lie.
Dear.
So I said, oh, right, yeah, the worship time. What we've done there is we've told them they don't have to come to the worship time if they don't want to. And so far, that's gone pretty well.
Oh, I really don't come out of that very well at all.
Well, I don't think either of us do, really.
But that pressure, and then they were truly lovely, as we keep
they
emphasising, because they were.
Yes.
But there is such a pressure sometimes to be a little more than you are, whether it's the way you're bringing up your family or the way you're behaving generally, that it's almost like a new law, isn't it? I mean, we were told we were freed from the law if we're following Jesus.
I think it's quite astonishing, really, how many people we meet who, despite the whole lot of the gospel and the salvation and all
that
stuff,
it's not to do
they
with what
believe
you do.
It's what you do.
Yes.
Even though they know the technical aspects of
Yeah.
what Jesus has done. This is a couple of lawyers called Murgatroyd and Pratt, and we've been doing this sketch for many years. Jesus, I meant Bridget. I got the words a bit mixed up. Bridget.
You are impossible.
Bridget plays Murgatroyd, and you won't be surprised to hear that I play Pratt.
No, especially after that.
Right, okay.
Right, we hope you're listening. It's quite serious. We have a feeling some of you are feeling fairly sure that all you really need to do is try to keep the law.
Yes, you wish you knew for sure, though. Can you break it once or twice and still get into heaven? What you need is some advice.
Yes, you need some legal expertise, and we provide just that. We are your humble servants, Messrs. Murgatroyd.
And Pratt.
You see, the law is rather difficult.
There's such a lot of it.
Perhaps you haven't understood.
Perhaps you are a twit.
If you decide to live by law,
You'd better heed our warning.
the first mistake that you will make,
Is waking in the morning.
the moment the alarm has gone,
You'll make some tiny slip.
and by the time you're out of bed,
You're in the devil's grip.
you can't be bad,
Or sad.
or mad,
Or rude.
or crude.
Or greedy.
You're not allowed to flash your cash,
You give it to the needy.
and you're not allowed to shun the crowd.
You've got to love them all.
Yes, especially if they bore you stiff.
And drive you up the wall.
You mustn't steal,
Or fight.
or feel,
Embarrassed by your zits.
or go along to swimming pools.
To look at naughty bits.
Can you forgive your cousin Viv?
And tell her so as well.
And stay with ancient Auntie May.
Despite the horrid smell.
And if you do something right,
It's no good saying, well, I am a little sunbeam now.
That's pride.
And you'll go to hell.
We hope we have conveyed to you.
The danger you are in.
But please, you mustn't worry.
Oh no, you mustn't. It's a sin.
So you see, you'll never keep the law.
Oh, there's not a chance of that.
But promise you can take the word of Murgatroyd.
And Pratt.
And some of us do feel we've got those sort of lawyers sitting on our shoulders, constantly criticising us. And even when we're not feeling like that, when we're trying to do something really lovely for God, things can go wrong. And I was remembering a time when I think I mentioned for years I worked with children in a very difficult sort of area of town. And we were constantly trying to give them a glimpse of what it was to know Jesus. And it was just coming up to Easter. So I thought, well, this is perfect. What I can do is I can get them to create an Easter garden, and that way they'll get this lovely feeling of what Easter's all about. So I provided foil trays, and it looked an absolute chaos outside the hall with mud and goodness knows what, but there was a little line of foil cartons with little crosses and little flowers, and I felt so pleased. I thought, they're really going to get a glimpse of something special. So most of them were just sitting quietly, and I was telling them the story about how Mary Magdalene met Jesus, and suddenly there was the most horrendous noise coming from the area where the gardeners were. Two of the boys were really going at it, and this is the conversation as I remember it. They were pulling tufts of hair, and finally they stood before me gasping for breath, tears furrowing the layers of garden mud on their faces. Jamie, "'S not fair, miss, he's pinched my snail." He did what? The reason for a duel, it had to be one of the strangest. "I had a snail, miss, in me garden, he pinched it. Look, it's in his garden now." Sure enough, Jamie's garden was snailless, and a small snail reposed in the adjacent foil container. Irrefutable evidence. Even Watson might have noticed the fine line of silvery slime crossing the path between the foil rims. Was the snail dead, Jamie? "No, miss." "I think he may have walked onto Clive's garden, Jamie." "Yeah, well, mine's better than yours, that's why," sneered Clive. You know what? The morning had completely lost its glow. Even when we really try, sometimes things can go wrong.
I bet you enjoyed writing that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I love these kids so much, but oh my goodness.
Yeah. But even if, and I don't know if you're going to remember this, even if you put your best foot forward, it can go wrong. And we knew a fellow, I'm going to call him Sidney, who was a very good man. Remember him? Good man.
Of course,
always did his best. But he had one little lapse one day. Well, this is based on the fact that he hated cats, and his broad hatred was diluted into one cat onto one cat from next door.
That's right.
Who had decided to use his garden as a toilet. That was right, wasn't it?
Cats often do that, actually.
They do, yes. I don't know why.
No.
Well, I suppose I might if I was a cat. Anyway, so Sidney one day looked out of the window and he saw the cat doing it in the garden.
Yes.
And suddenly the devil was in Sidney.
That's right.
And he went and got an old shoe. And this was so not his style.
No, he was such a nice man.
And he threw the shoe, and by a miracle, because he was not a man who would normally hit anything, he hit the cat.
He did.
And the cat squealed and rushed back over the wall.
And the thing about Sidney, if I remember rightly, was that he had really wanted to bring his neighbour, who was not a Christian, bring her to the Lord. So this wasn't good.
He was at least trying to get her to come to church
Yes.
and maybe take an interest. But the problem was that as the cat disappeared, and Sidney was feeling a moment of evil pride in his mousemanship, he looked up and saw the lady next door leaning out of her window and watching what had happened. And she was very, very cross with him. And he thought all chances of bringing this lady to God are very remote.
He felt awful, didn't he?
Felt very, very bad. So he thought, what can I do? And he he found a bag of coal in the garage. This is a true story, I promise you.
Yeah, he'd got an electric fire by then, hadn't he? So he
electric
didn't
fire,
need his
yeah.
coal, and it had been in there some time.
So he took it round to her, and he said, I thought you might be able to use this coal. And he thought this might kind of cool things down a bit.
Or warm things up in the best way.
Warm things up. And she was pleased to take it. And she took it in. Now, what happened after that, Sidney didn't see, but this is precisely what happened. Sidney had forgotten that in the bottom of the sack there was some glass. And when the lady got to putting the bottom of the sack onto the fire, the glass entered the fire, exploded, shot out of the fireplace, and severely injured the cat.
I mean, it's not funny at all, the poor cat, but it is very funny.
Oh, it's terrible. How can you laugh? Anyway, so they then had to pay the vet's bills, and she never did, as far as I know, make it to the church.
No.
So Sidney, who was a very good man, did his best and failed miserably.
We fail. We do fail.
fail.
And we've often said, haven't we, thank goodness, that we are told quite firmly that we have a great high priest in heaven who understands all things.
Well, I think it's as you know, it's one of my favourite bits in the Bible, and it says we have a great high priest who's been through it all. He's been through temptation, everything. And that's why we can confidently go to him. That's what it says. Go to him.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Tell him, open it up, sit down with him and have a chat.
Yeah.
And that can be so
And that's what we need to do, isn't it?
Yeah, whatever goes wrong.
Yeah.
It's the thing people find almost too hard to believe that this great high priest of ours, probably dressed in a t-shirt, actually, is waiting to say, come on, have a seat, tell me what's happening.
And it's back to the prodigal father, isn't it?
Yeah.
Running down the road to
Very
meet his son.
pleased to see us when we turn up.
So perhaps we need to let ourselves off the hook a little bit and relax today. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. Don't you like Sidney after that? You should do. Poor
And the
old
cat
Sidney.
was fine.
Cat was fine.
Sorry,
Again, yeah.
really needed to
The
say
cat
that.
lived.
I did.
Bye-bye.
Bye.